Welcome friends, welcome back to the kitchen. Today we're going to do a take on a take on a take on a take on a take. The kind of recipe that, in its most recent iteration, which I'm doing a take on, is something that Thomas Keller is calling potatoes pave, or pomme pave. But in reality, this is a dish that, I don't know, it's a take on a take on a take on a take. From about the dawn of potatoes in France, they've been slicing them really thin, layering them up with a combination of butter, cream, and cheese, different flavorings, cooking them. And it goes by a bunch of different names depending on what the ingredients are. Au gratin with cheese. So this one's kind of interesting because we're going to cook the layers, compress them, chill them, cut them, fry them. Pomme pave. So in this saucepan, a little bit of cream, and I've got this on a really gentle heat. I don't want to bring this to a boil. So to the cream, butter, minced shallot, some dried thyme, and some tarragon. And I just want to bring this up to temperature and steep all of those flavors together. In this mixture, if you don't have a shallot, use a regular onion. Just mince up maybe half of a really small onion. It's really simple. You don't have to use tarragon and thyme. You could use other herbs or spices that you like. Definitely a couple cloves of garlic wouldn't go amiss in this mixture. I mean, you can tailor this to the rest of what you're serving. Have it complement the other things that you're serving. Now, I'm going to use this tool for slicing the potatoes. This is something I use most often for apples, and you've seen it on the show before. I'll link to a recipe down below, and it can be a little bit tough to load. So let's see. And so this is an extravagance that you don't need to use. A mandolin works perfectly fine. Slice the potatoes either endwise or lengthwise. Idea is that you want really thin slices. You don't have a mandolin, use a knife. Get them as thin and consistently thin as you can. And I really do think that consistency is key here. So we're at the bottom of this one. So here I've got the peel. Now, I've got pan lined with parchment. Start out bottom of the pan. Just get a little bit of that mixture in on the bottom. Now, lay in the first layer of potato. A little bit of pepper. Brush in some of our liquid. Layer of potato. A little bit of liquid. Layer of potato. I'm sure you get the idea. It's not rocket science, it's potatoes. Now, every once in a while, take your spoon and get some of the solids, get some of the shallots and the herbs, and put them in between the layers of potatoes. The idea is you want to use all of your liquid up, and in the end, you can just pour it over before it goes in the oven. It's not a big deal. And just keep layering in your potatoes until you reach the top. Now, totally great idea is to grate some pecorino in here. Let's do that. Just a little bit, and it doesn't have to be on every layer. And this could be any hard cheese that you like, really. And while I do get nice, big, consistent sheets, you do get little pieces like this. So lay them in as carefully as you can. Getting down to the last couple of layers. So I'll get them in. I have the oven preheated 350 degrees Fahrenheit. This is going to cook hour and a half, 2 hours. You want to cook it until you can get a knife to go through nice and easily without much resistance. Get down to the end of the sauce. So we'll get that on there. Last layer on top. Give that one just a little bit of pepper. We'll scoop on the last little bit of sauce. Not much left in the bottom of the pan. Maybe could have made just a little bit more. And if I'd had another potato, I could have filled that baking dish. Now, fold over the parchment paper and into the oven. Okay, kitchen smells amazing. A couple hours have gone by, and it's time to pull this out of the oven for the next step. Next step is super easy. Super easy. Now, I'm telling you, it smells amazing. You could eat this right out of the oven, but we're not going to do that. We're going to take another pan, exactly the same pan. I've got some cans in it. I'm going to sit it on top, and we're going to weigh that down. I'm going to leave it on the counter for a couple of hours till it comes to room temperature. Then I'm going to stick it in the fridge, and we'll come back and deal with it tomorrow. So, 24 hours have gone by. Don't need that anymore. This is well and truly compressed. Let's see if I can get it out. There we go. Okay. Peel back the parchment paper. And there we go. A very compressed loaf of potato and cheese and butter and cream. So the deal is you want to cut this up because we're going to fry it now. One school of thought is to take a round, like a dough cutter, and cut rounds out. And I got to tell you, presentation-wise, that looks amazing. Absolutely looks amazing. I always cringe a little bit because there's some wastage in that. I know that the bits around the edges in a commercial kitchen get fried up and eaten by the staff, but in your home kitchen, that might not happen. So I just cut it into squares or rectangles, and I don't worry too much about the outer edges. I know that I should. I'll cut a couple that look really nice. Okay, so look at all of those layers. I'm going to clean up the end here. I'll save that and fry it. Same on this end. So in this frying pan, I've got a good bit of oil. And when I mean a good bit, I mean, like a 1/8 of an inch of oil covering the bottom, because we want to fry these now. We want to get a good, nice, crispy coating on the outside. So in they go. I'm going to put them in top side down first. And we want to fry them on all sides. Move them around quite a bit so they don't stick to the bottom of the pan. Even though there's a lot of oil in the bottom of the pan, they can stick. And keep an eye on them. You don't want to over fry them. You don't need to cook them at this point. You're just sort of heating them through and getting a nice crispy coating on the outside. And as you can tell, they're not all the same shape. I'm not getting a job in Thomas Keller's kitchen anytime soon. So just keep flipping them. Get them nice and brown all the way around.
Hey, Glenn.
Hey, Jules.
Hey, friends. Smells very rosemary time-ish.
Thyme and... Oh, I made these yesterday. What was...
I don't know.
What was the other
It
thing
smells
I
great.
put in?
I'm
Anyway.
moving away though because the frying makes me a little nervous. Splattering stuff always seems to hurt, but I got some forks.
The recipe's below the video. I forget what the other herb was that I put in. Thyme and...
I guess the big knife would have worked, but
Huh. Anyway, so it's like a multiple layer
layered thing?
potato. Yeah.
oh my goodness, those are really thin.
Yes.
Like those are incredibly thinly layered potatoes, assuming these are the edges.
Yes.
Holy crap! Did you use a slicing dicing machine?
Oh, I did it all by hand. It was so hard. No, I used.
You know,
this-
I can watch the video later, right?
I used the rotary thing.
Oh, okay. So you made like a big long.
It's like making plywood. It was like making plywood.
There we go.
So, cut into one. Let's see.
All right.
Okay.
Oh, that last little crunchy bit at the bottom is a little crunchier. There we go. Beautiful. All right, how's that look?
Look at all those layers.
That's
Okay.
a lot of layers. Let's give it a taste. That is pretty slick. I'm going to cut them into
okay.
smaller.
Stop looking. Let's start eating.
I was just going to say I'm going to cut them into small bits because they just came out of the frying pan. I thought maybe I'd let them cool a bit. But apparently, you're willing to just jump in.
Look at all those layers.
That's a lot of layers. That's an impressive amount of layers.
Okay.
That's really crispy on the edge.
Crispy on the edge and like a nice creamy potato in the middle.
The Joya potato.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's the nice thing about the small size. That all pieces have a little bit of crispiness on them.
Crispy on them.
Woo!
Yeah.
Oh wow, they kind of flop open like a book.
Okay, so
That's how thin they're. That's impressive.
that's definitely worth the time it took to make it. To me, for a dinner party. It's not something that, on a Tuesday evening, just for the two of us sitting at the table, I don't know how I would make.
I'd probably stick with a small dinner party though. I can't imagine you doing the giant family function with these.
6 people maybe, max. 40 people at Christmas.
How many
Okay.
potatoes? How many potatoes did this take?
So that was 3 potatoes.
Okay.
3 potatoes. I stuck with very classical seasoning for this, but you could take this seasoning in almost any direction that you want. Anything that you like with potatoes would work here. I put in a very small amount of cheese, a little bit of pecorino,
Of course
but you could add more cheese if you wanted and play with the. That's good. That's a winner.
There you go.
But I have to work on my cutting. Not all of my squares are square. This is worth a try. You just use a mandolin. If you don't have the roller slicey thing, that's okay. Mandolin is going to get them as long as you get the potatoes really thin and you make sure that you get your layers even. It'll work out. Thanks for stopping by. See you again soon.